There is my audience, and I'll begin my speech now. Don't you all like to be number one at everything you do? Even as a country, we like to be leaders in the world on the global scale. This, however, isn't the case with the education of our country. We are actually far behind Asian academic systems, and they have beaten us in test scores by quite the margin. The academic systems in Asia countries that produce the best results in the world. And this is due to several reasons that I will talk to you about today. First, I will show how successful these systems actually are by showing real graphs and statistics that provide the information. Second, I will provide information on the backbone of the education, that is, the teachers. And finally, I will inform on how the whole culture's views on the importance of education come into play. The academic systems from Asian countries have far surpassed the national average, and many other countries, including our very own. How great actually are these results? An organization named OECD, standing for Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, has multiple well-established countries as members, which all have the motive to improve the economic and social well-being of people around the world. The OECD conducts multiple tests to show the advancement of kids in their own countries with various academic subjects. The OECD conducts multiple tests to show the advancement of kids in their own country and as well as other countries. The results are very surprising. In Shanghai, the average 15-year-old is testing 2 to 3 years ahead of those in Australia, the US, and different European countries. Different Asian countries, including Korea, those in Hong Kong, Singapore, are testing 1 year ahead of the average in the US and Europe. This graph shows how much higher Asian countries are ranking in the world. As you can see here, these 4 graphs right here represent Shanghai, Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore, and they are well higher than Australia, US, UK, and different European countries, showing how high their test scores compare to countries like our very own. Not only do they have the high test scores, but they're also improving them every year. For example, between 2000 and 2009, Korea's mean reading score improved by 15 points. This is equivalent to nearly 5 months of learning. That's very astonishing, whereas countries like the US and Australia are actually worsening their own scores. The ones mainly responsible for the success are the teachers who communicate the academic message. The role of teachers in the Asian countries is valued very highly. They value teachers just like positions like doctors or other well-respected positions. And the teachers in the US, for example, aren't valued as high as positions like doctors and so on. During the training, there are multiple mentors that help those learning to become a teacher. This doesn't stop in the learning process, as there are multiple mentors to each other as teachers. The teachers themselves play a mentor to other teachers. This part of being a mentor involves observing and providing feedback in the classroom for other teachers' learning styles and to provide feedback to their peers on how they teach. Compared to other countries where a teacher is working around 30 hours a week, in Asian countries the teacher would work around 10 to 12 hours a week. Those other hours are spent observing other teachers and constructing new ways to help teach the students. The role of a teacher has taken on a different role in Asian countries, and that is a researcher. In Shanghai, teachers form research groups that they get together throughout the week at different times, and they talk about how to better improve their teaching skills. So they really take on the role of being a researcher. Along with teaching, another contributor to the success of education is the overall contribution of the country and society as a whole. One might think that this success is due to the high government spending on education. This, however, isn't true, as Korea actually spends less per student than the average OECD country. This fact shows that the culture's view on importance of education far outweighs any money spent on improving the system. Money doesn't buy the success of students in Asian countries. The popular culture stresses the importance of education. In countries like our own, things like extracurricular activities like sports or other organizations are viewed higher than education. Asian countries, however, emphasize to the students how important education really is. This is apparent with the high levels of equality and participation in Asian countries. The gap between the highest and lowest 10% of students level is the smallest in Korea, Shanghai, and Hong Kong, with a drastic incline to the next set of countries from Europe. This means that the students participate almost equally in their education. Going back to the popular culture view on the importance of education, the amount of students finishing secondary education in Korea is also 10% above the OECD average, showing how dedicated young students are. 90% of students are finishing secondary education. Another fact that shows how important education is would be the length of the school year in Asian countries. For example, in Korea, the school year is divided into 2 semesters, one starting March and ending in July, and the other starting September going to February. Students only have a month in between and are in school basically all year. These are just some aspects of the whole culture that contribute to the overall success in Asian countries and showing worldwide the success of their systems. These test scores show how drastically Asian countries are on top of the academic systems worldwide. This success has contributed to many factors. 2 important ones are teacher education and how teachers go about their everyday job differently than in other countries, and their overall culture's view of importance on education that drives to the student's success. With these factors and many other contributions, Asian countries have proven to be the most successful and produce the highest test scores in countries worldwide. Education is important, and it's important to know how countries that have proven to produce soaring results actually succeed those. Because some of you might actually be put in situations that can better our own system here in the U.S. No one likes to be second to their neighbor. Let us learn these techniques and help our struggling education right here in the U.S. Thank you. Let me show my audience one more time.
Germany.